my list.
So I'll give the background. I knew Kimball,
Mm.
um, and I did know Lilla. So we actually did all know each other. Kimball, I met first, um, before COVID. We met for coffee in LA, and the rest is history. We made a short, and then Lilla. So Lilla, how we met was actually also pretty funny. We met. I produced a film called The Scare of 61st, and Lilla acted in the film. And both of those films, Lilla's film is called Forest. I See You Everywhere, and both of those films made it to the Berlin Film Festival in 2021. Um, which my short with Kimball was rejected from, sadly. But we went for this other movie, and and we met in a virtual chat room. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that was amazing. We met in a virtual COVID party, a Berlinale party in it wasn't Zoom. What was this program, Mark? It was very weird. It was different rooms, but like it was also toilet, kitchen, living room, but
Yeah, you like walk
Were
in.
you moving around like a character?
Yeah, a little bit. It was kind of like that Fantasia one, but it was like you walk into a room and there's like a burning fireplace and there's
yeah.
music and you can
And
and you
we
can
sat there. We sat there,
yeah.
Mark.
We sat in a virtual fireplace room, me and Tiffany, my wife, I think before we were even married. Um, and we met Lilla and we were just, you know, praising her on winning this award. And we were so excited to see the movie. And then this was the year Berlin canceled their winter edition. And then so we ended up meeting in person in June of that year, 2021. And and then yeah, so and then it was like, oh, do you want to be in this crazy movie that we're writing? And Lila was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Send me the script. Like, and I said, okay, I'll write it. We're gonna write it with you in mind. And obviously Kimball, like I said, we had already met. And so Lila was kind of a missing piece to our plan of making something independent and then yeah. So I think that was so important that we all met. I don't think Hippo would have happened because it's just
Yeah.
how I work. I can't, and we were talking about like I can't really write something without somebody in mind. I can't shoot it. Like I can't meet the actor on the day. That's just too
No.
like can't do that. Yeah, for sure. Kimball, you want to talk about the inspirations?
Yeah, I mean, like, so yeah, so me and Mark before Hippo, we had made a short film called Andronicus that also features Eliza Roberts and Eric Roberts that are in the film. And it's not the same character, but there are pieces of it there. You could almost say that Andronicus is like a spiritual um, predecessor, I believe is the word, predecessor, not successor, that's for sure. But it's like the spiritual prequel, so it's there are pieces of Hippo in the character in Andronicus, but we took this short film to festivals, but you don't really get the satisfaction of making a film unless you make a feature. A short will only get you so much, but you everyone wants to make a feature and everyone wants to do that again. And so we were like, what's the feature we can make now? And we wrote a few movies. Some of them were too expensive. We were like, what's something we can make right now during COVID?
Yeah, we kind of like screwed up and like we during COVID we were like, okay, let's write the movie we can make now.
We
And then we
wrote like
wrote like
four movies. We wrote like
no, we
four
wrote
epics.
two movies. We wrote two and a half.
They were
And it was
both
like
epics, and
and it's
so
like
it's like,
these are just a little too expensive.
yeah, yeah.
Like they
And
have nighttime stuff. Like it's like we can't do that. Why do we
yeah,
keep doing this? And then we finally got the formula and wrote for my grandma's house.
yeah, yeah. Like Mark was like, what can we shoot at my grandma's house? She's got this great house that has tons of Jesus stuff all over. And so we started thinking about Hippo, and it was and yeah, I really think what shaped it, because we were in the middle of writing it in the summer, and that was when I think Mark went to Berlin for the Scary 61st. And that's when he met Lilla. And I think there was still a bit of a mystery on the film. We didn't quite have our pulse on it, but the second he met Lilla was when it came to be, because the movie would not and could not exist without Lilla. And I've said this before, but it really could be called Buttercup. She's like the heart of the movie, and I think and like Lilla or Buttercup could not have been an American actress. And so once Mark was like, "There's this incredible actress I just met at Berlin. She's amazing." Once he brought her up, I was like, "Okay, yeah, this is it. This
Best
is the
actor, best actress I've ever seen. But both
yeah,
of these people are the best actors I've ever met.
And Lila won the Silver Bear, and she just is already like a growing legend and continues to be a legend more and more every day. And it was like, and it was like the second Lila was in, I was like, okay, now this is a movie.
We're gonna, yeah, it's like we're going to do this. Like, mom, like get that loan, like get the
Get that
money. Like,
loan.
we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a Berlin winning actress. We have Kimball, who's gonna be like the next Donnie Darko, Jake Gyllenhaal, and let's make this like epic movie with these rising stars. And my mom was all in, and again, Charmaine, my mother,
And shout out to
really,
his mom. The movie literally would not have happened.
yeah,
Charmaine.
X
Uh-huh.
Factor. So
Hmm.
that so all those elements really coming together is how it came to be. Sorry, I don't know if we fully answered the question. Inspiration
Yeah.
wise, if they want inspiration, it's just growing up, it's just coming of age, um, and growing up thinking your family is, the most weird family. And
Hmm.
so it's playing with that idea of our childhoods, and especially Kimball and I grew up in these like religious households. But Lila, you also grew up in a religious household ish. No, but you
And
didn't.
no,
No, okay,
at
so that's
all.
why Lila brought more of the good the more calm energy to the movie. But Kimball and I grew up in these like not oppressive, but a little bit overbearing religious households, which have chilled out since then. We love our parents very much. But at the moment when we were growing up, there was some shame around sex, and, whether it's the church or the synagogue, in my case, sort of, didn't want you to know what it's all about. And so we're kind of like, well, what if we make this movie that, that's the, that leads to to all the drama within this family, is just this misunderstanding of sex. And it's also playing with the incel stereotype and the white, mentally ill male stereotype. And the name Hippo comes from the play on Hippolytus, a Greek tragedy, which obviously the movie's very much like a Greek, plays very much like a Greek tragedy. And also, it's a play on the movie Elephant by Gus Van Sant, where it's like we take this character who's like seems like they're going to be a school shooter, but let's like flip it on their head. Like that, the trope of the mentally ill white man, had a little more to be explored in our opinion. And that led to Hippo, a very misunderstood mentally ill white American child. Um, I'll start by saying my mom's a psychiatrist, and I we always talk about different characters and personality disorders. And so I'm always attuned to like, you know when I watch a movie, it's like I'm trying to like diagnose the characters. Because I think like great characters all have something wrong with them. Or else, if you just fit into society's mold, you're going to be working, a normal sort of job, and you're just going to be, nothing crazy is going to happen. But the characters where crazy shit happens is because they're maybe anxious or depressed or multiple personalities, or, borderline personality, Machiavellian, whatever dark triad personality lends itself to many villains and antagonists. Um, so that's just, just from a sort of intellectual level, just talking about it with my mom my whole life. And then also, Kimball and I think both felt we weren't like mentally ill. I mean, I do take like anti-anxiety medication, but like Kimball maybe should, but that's for another story.
I
But
should definitely.
I'm kidding. But I think we both have had brushes with it, and we're luckily have our heads on straight enough to be functional. But I think we both have always, thought there's like another side to ourselves. We're like, thank God that we're not that, right, Kimball?
Hmm.
Like sometimes you worry, like, well, what if I was
Yeah. Yeah,
schizophrenic?
I have like I might, yeah, like I have myself like a great degree of like I should be medicated, to be honest, but like
That's
I have
okay.
like
Don't worry about it.
but I degree of PTSD and just like about health, where you're like what if I'm blank? What if I'm this? What if I'm that? What if I have this? What if I'm, and so in a way, in like a slightly dangerous way, it was kind of fun to dive into it and be like, okay, well, what if you were a sociopath? And like, let's play with that, and let's go to like a
Yeah.
darker place with this. And
Like
yeah,
it's a character that maybe we would play with our mothers at our respective dinner tables at in our home. Like me and my brothers would often put on characters like mother pass the Grey Poupon kind of thing. Like we're fucking around. Like we're not actually like insane, but there's something about like pretending you're insane that like it opens the room up a little bit, right,
uh-huh.
Kimball? Like you
Yeah, and
mess with your
playing an insane character for sure, because like an insane character like this, who's like a sociopath, yet he's intelligent, but he's so dark and evil. There's something about it where it's like he in his brain is in this fantastical world already, and so it just makes for a much more interesting character. Often, like the darker characters are more interesting just because there's so much more going on. If you're playing like a great just straight protagonist all the time, it could be boring because you're like, okay, he's just the good guy. But I think in storytelling you can explore the bad guy, and
yeah.
it's just much more interesting.
And that's where Buttercup comes in to as the foil to all of this. Is you can't just have a house of crazies. You have to have Buttercup's a little messed up for sure and misguided and doesn't also know what sex is and is longing for some type of, close feelings, but that's where Lila, brilliantly plays off of these mentally ill people in a way that's um not self-serving, saving. She's protecting her peace. She has to find a way to protect her peace in this house, and that's the other side of the coin. Without with great, you can only tell if something's mentally ill if you have someone more normal. It's all relative, I guess,
Yes.
and that's yeah. So that's where Buttercup ends up as our unlikely hero in this mentally ill home. Um, yeah, so it's a really good question. For starters, there's a classic thing where if you make a low budget movie, and you see it with a lot of famous filmmakers starting out, they shoot their first movie on black and white. And there's a practical reason for that. It's not always just because they like black and white, it's because it's actually cheaper, I've learned. And so that may have been our entry point to shooting black and white, was like, okay, how do we keep the cost down? Because when you don't have to worry about color, you can just worry about light, and the temper not the temp you don't have to worry about the temperature of the light, you have to worry about the how powerful the light is, basically. Um and you don't have to worry about like dressing a set with specific colors. So it really helps keeps your cost down. So that was the entry point. You have movies like Christopher Nolan's Following and Pi, Darren Aronofsky, and there's several. There's tons of examples of filmmakers who start like that, but then it turns out our cinematographer William Babcock, like he was also just taking these incredible black and white portraits at the time and posting them on Instagram. And I was like, well, he just makes it look so good. And so he's also just been he had been an advocate for black and white at the time. And then when we talked about the fact that it would dampen the absurdity of the content of the film, it just hit me like, yeah, we have to do black and white, because if you shoot the movie in color, some of these absurd scenes might feel like a little too much like a Will Ferrell movie, or something a little too like funny haha, and we wanted it to feel more serious, like a different world. And so the black and white, again, what started as a budgetary thing turned into a creative choice that now I'm actually addicted to. And I don't even I think of almost everything I write in black and white, um as the way to do it, at least yeah, at least for now. So that was that. And Kimball, also Kimball told me something really fascinating about black and white that also got me to be a believer. What was
Is
that,
it the
Kimball,
Orson
again?
Welles quote?
Yeah, the Orson Welles quote.
Yeah, Orson Welles just has like this great quote, and I'll butcher it a little bit, but he just basically said that black and white is the most flattering to an actor because you're just focused on the performance, not like the background or the production design behind them. And it's interesting. Even in the '50s, there was like a bit of a resistance to colored movies, because I think like when people were starting to make more colored movies. Like one of my favorite actors, Montgomery Clift, was kind of what I hear opposed to colored movies just because he thought that they were reserved for musicals, and so they were reserved for the more like fantastical, like whimsical movies, whereas black and white was more serious and dramatic. And so I think that really helped here as well because it's a funny movie on the page, but the black and white makes you a little bit more unsettled and it makes you feel like, should I laugh? Like, am I allowed to laugh? They're saying some pretty crazy things.
Yeah.
Um, like if
Places it in a world of its own.
yeah,
And
yeah,
also in film history, like you said, the classic films, like there's
yeah,
so many good classic black and white films, and it's
exactly.
I think people don't make enough
Yeah,
in
I think
America.
I think it
Um,
should come back more, to be honest. I think distributors should be buying more black and white films.
yeah.
But